The screen flickered for a second, then came back to life. The image was black and white, a little blurry, but clear enough to see what was happening. A man in a hospital gown was crawling across the hallway floor, his hands leaving long, dark streaks behind him. He was dragging himself away from something that wasn't fully visible at the end of the corridor, something that moved in short, jerky bursts, like a glitch in a video. The hospital security guard watching the footage froze. The date on the feed said March 14th, 1997, but the file had just appeared in the system last night. For years, the hospital had been shut down, empty, quiet, a forgotten shell on the outskirts of Chicago. People called it Mercy Hill Hospital, though most locals just called it the Hill. It had been abandoned after a fire in 1998, and no one had set foot in it since. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. The video was found accidentally when Ethan Cole, a young IT technician, was hired to help clear old data from the city's digital archives. The file was labeled Camera 09, East Wing, and at first, he assumed it was just broken footage from before the fire. But then, as the video played, the date flickered. It changed from 1997 to 2023. And the man on the screen lifted his head, looked directly at the camera, and mouthed something. Ethan leaned forward. His blood ran cold. The man's lips formed the words, "You shouldn't be watching." The screen glitched, froze, then played again, but now the hallway was empty. The man was gone. That was the moment Ethan realized he was looking at something that shouldn't exist. The hospital had burned almost to the ground 25 years ago, but the footage was crystal clear. It wasn't smoke-damaged film. It was digital, high definition, recorded from a modern security system that didn't even exist back then. He replayed the file, rewound it frame by frame. For the first few minutes, it showed an empty corridor, peeling paint, flickering lights, a few rolling beds covered in sheets. Then, without any visible cut, the man appeared again, crawling in the opposite direction this time. The timestamp now read 2:11 a.m. In the far corner of the screen, a shadow moved. It wasn't shaped like a person. It was stretched and twisted, its limbs too long. It followed the man, but never quite touched him. Ethan noticed something worse. Every time the shadow moved, the fluorescent lights above it went dark, one by one, until the whole hallway was black. Then, for just one frame, a face appeared on the camera, a pale face right against the lens, upside down, staring directly into it. The eyes were wide, completely white. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The feed flickered again, then cut to static. He sat back in his chair, heart pounding. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone was playing with old footage. But when he opened the system logs, something strange appeared. The file wasn't uploaded by any user. It just showed up, automatically generated at 3 a.m. from a camera feed that no longer existed. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that white face and those words, "You shouldn't be watching." The next morning, he returned to his desk at the archive office. The file was still there, but now there were two new ones, Camera 10, Basement Access, and Camera 11, Morgue Hall. Ethan hesitated. He hovered the mouse over the first file, then clicked play. The footage began with a wide shot of a dimly lit stairwell. The steps were wet, reflecting the light like glass. Halfway down, a hospital gurney sat abandoned, rusted, and covered in dust. Then, slowly, something began moving behind it. He squinted, trying to make sense of the shape. It was low to the ground, almost crawling. It moved toward the camera, slowly at first, then faster, the screen warping slightly as it got closer. The figure reached the bottom of the stairs and lifted its head. It was the same man from the first video. Same hospital gown. Same wounds. But this time, his eyes were completely white. He looked directly into the lens again, and the same voice Ethan had heard in his dreams whispered through the speakers. "It's still recording." Ethan jumped from his seat. His monitor went black, then came back to life. The feed was no longer from the 1997 footage, it was from a live camera, and the feed was showing him. It was a grainy, gray view of the exact room he was sitting in, his desk, his chair, the monitor, and him, frozen in shock. Behind him, something moved in the dark reflection of the window. He turned around slowly, his heart hammering, but there was nothing there. Just his reflection in the glass and the faint hum of the server room. When he turned back, the man in the hospital gown was standing inside the feed again. Only this time, he was no longer in the hospital. He was in Ethan's office, staring into the same camera that was recording Ethan's every move. Ethan's hand reached for the power button. He had to shut it down, but before he could, the man's mouth moved one last time. "It's watching you too." The screen flickered violently, the power went out, and the sound of footsteps echoed behind him. Ethan didn't sleep that night, or the next. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that face from the video. The pale skin, the blank, white eyes, the way it had spoken through the feed, even though the footage was supposedly from the past. He tried to tell his supervisor at the archives about what happened, but she didn't believe him. "Old security tapes glitch all the time," she said, laughing nervously. "You're just spooking yourself. Mercy Hill burned down decades ago. Nothing's there anymore." But Ethan knew what he'd seen. The timestamp had changed to live, and the camera had shown his office. That wasn't a glitch. That was something watching him back. By the third night, he decided he had to go to the hospital himself. Maybe if he saw it with his own eyes, he could prove it was fake, or maybe he'd finally understand what those videos really were. He drove out of the city just after midnight. The rain made the roads slick and shiny. His GPS didn't even recognize the address anymore, but the broken sign on the road's edge confirmed it. Mercy Hill Hospital, closed. The building sat in darkness, surrounded by chain-link fence and overgrown grass. Its windows were boarded up, but one of the doors on the side had been forced open. A faint hum came from inside, like a generator still running. Ethan turned on his flashlight and stepped inside. The air was heavy, damp, and cold. His footsteps echoed down the hallway. Old gurneys and wheelchairs lined the walls. Peeling paint hung like ribbons from the ceiling. As he moved deeper, he noticed something strange. The hospital was exactly like in the footage. Same hallway, same flickering lights, same broken sign above the east wing doors. Only, the electricity shouldn't have been on. He aimed the flashlight at the wall and saw an old security camera still mounted above the corner. Its red light blinked once, faintly, like a heartbeat. He froze. "No way," he whispered. The camera turned slightly, following his movement. Ethan stepped back, heart pounding. He pulled out his phone, but it had no signal. No bars. No Wi-Fi. Then, from somewhere down the hallway, a faint tap, tap, tap echoed. He pointed his light toward the sound, but there was nothing there, just an old nurse's station with a cracked glass window. Papers scattered across the counter moved slightly, as if stirred by a weak breeze. Ethan walked closer. The air grew colder. On the counter lay a name tag covered in dust, Dr. M. Sloan. He brushed it off and noticed something else beneath it, an old VHS tape. The label, written in black marker, read, CAM09, East Wing. His hand trembled as he picked it up. It was the same camera label as the file he'd found in the archives. And then, from the other side of the nurse's station window, a reflection moved. Ethan looked up. A dark figure stood behind him in the glass, tall, thin, and still. He spun around. The hallway was empty. He took a deep breath, trying to convince himself he was imagining it. He needed to get out, to leave this place. But the moment he turned back toward the exit, every light in the hallway flickered on, one by one, stretching toward him from the far end. The hum grew louder, turning into a vibrating static sound that filled his ears. He started running. His flashlight beam bounced wildly off the walls. But the corridor seemed longer than before, like it was stretching. He couldn't see the door anymore, only darkness. And then he saw the security monitor at the end of the hall flicker to life. It showed a live feed of the very hallway he was standing in, only there was something behind him in the image. Something moving. Slowly, Ethan turned around. In the middle of the corridor stood a hospital bed. It hadn't been there seconds ago. The white sheet draped over it was stained and wet. The shape beneath it began to rise. Ethan stumbled backward as the sheet slid to the floor, revealing a man in a hospital gown. His skin was gray. His eyes were pure white. It was the same man from the recordings. "You shouldn't have come here," the figure said, voice low and mechanical. Ethan's flashlight went out. Total darkness swallowed him. He felt something brush past his shoulder, cold, damp, and real. He turned to run but slammed into a wall that hadn't been there before. The hospital seemed to shift around him, walls closing in, corridors twisting. The sound of the hum returned, louder than ever, mixed with faint whispers. "You're on camera now. It's recording." It never stopped. The red light of a security camera blinked above his head, pointing directly at him. Ethan screamed, waving his flashlight, and for a split second, he saw the reflection of dozens of pale faces in the shiny floor tiles, all watching him from the dark. The hum grew so loud it rattled the ceiling tiles, and then, suddenly, it stopped. The hallway lights went dark, and when the emergency lights flickered back on, the corridor was empty. The hospital bed was gone, but the camera was still there, its red light blinking steadily, recording. Ethan stood trembling in silence. Then a speaker somewhere crackled to life, playing a faint voice. It was his own. "This is Ethan Cole. If you find this recording, don't open the files." The sound echoed through the empty hospital halls as the camera zoomed in on him, without anyone touching it. Ethan's voice echoed through the speakers again, distorted now, slower, deeper, like the recording itself was decaying. "If you find this recording, don't open the files." He stared up at the old PA speaker above his head, frozen. That message, he hadn't recorded anything. Not yet. A chill ran through him. The sound wasn't coming from the speaker. It was coming through the walls. He gripped his flashlight tighter, his breath visible in the cold air. "Hello," he called out, his voice shaking. "Is anyone here?" Only silence answered him. Then, a faint mechanical whirring started somewhere deep in the building. One by one, red lights began blinking down the hallway, security cameras activating in sequence, all turning toward him. Ethan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out quickly, relieved to see a weak signal bar appear for the first time in hours. The screen lit up with a single notification: "New file detected, camera 12, live feed." He stared at the screen, heart pounding. The video was already playing. The feed showed him, standing in the middle of the same hallway, but in the footage, he wasn't alone. Behind him, a shadow moved, slowly, crawling along the floor. He spun around in real life, nothing there. But on the screen, the figure was closer now, so close that its hand seemed to reach toward his back. Panicked, Ethan turned off his phone, shoving it into his pocket, and ran. His footsteps echoed off the walls as he passed empty rooms, all filled with rusted equipment and fallen ceiling tiles. He could still feel the cameras tracking him, the red lights following wherever he went. He reached a door labeled Security Control Room. The handle was stiff, but he forced it open. Inside, a dozen old monitors lined the wall, all glowing with static. He moved closer, wiping dust off one of the screens. It flickered, and showed him entering the room just moments ago. Then it jumped forward. On the screen, he was standing still, staring at the monitors, even though in reality, he was still moving. He froze. The version of him on the monitor slowly turned its head toward the camera and smiled. Ethan stumbled backward. "No, that's not me," he whispered. He yanked the power cord from the wall, but the monitors stayed on. Every screen now displayed a different hallway of the hospital, each one showing flickering movement. In one feed, a gurney rolled by on its own. In another, a door slammed shut. In the third, a pale figure crawled up the wall like a spider. Then all the screens went black. A single word appeared across all of them at once, written in white text: "Live." The room lights flickered violently, and the hum returned, louder than before, shaking the floor beneath his feet. Ethan turned and ran, desperate to find the exit. He sprinted through the east wing, the same hallway from the first video. The smell of burnt plastic filled the air, mixing with something foul and earthy. He reached the main lobby, but the double doors were gone. In their place was a solid wall of old bricks. He slammed his fists against it, yelling, "Let me out." Behind him, a voice answered softly, "It's already been recorded." He turned slowly. At the center of the lobby stood a man in a hospital gown, barefoot, his head tilted unnaturally to one side. His eyes were white, his face gray and stretched thin. It was the man from the footage, the one who'd crawled through the hallway. But now, he wasn't on any screen. He was standing right in front of Ethan. The man took a step closer. His bare feet made no sound. Ethan backed away, shaking his head. "You're not real. You're not real." The man's lips cracked into a faint, crooked smile. "I told you not to watch." The lights above them shattered, plunging the room into darkness. The red glow from the security cameras filled the air, dozens of blinking dots lighting the space like tiny eyes. Ethan stumbled backward, tripping over a broken chair. As he fell, his flashlight rolled across the floor, landing near the man's feet. The beam illuminated a dozen more figures standing behind him, each one in a hospital gown, each one pale, silent, and watching. Their faces were identical. All of them had Ethan's face. He crawled backward, eyes wide in horror. The lights flickered once more, and when they came back on, the figures were gone. The room was empty again. The only sound was the faint static hum from the corner. He turned his head slowly. The last working monitor on the wall was still on. It showed a live feed of the lobby, him sitting on the floor, staring at the screen. He looked up at the camera mounted above. Its red light blinked once, twice, then turned solid. Recording. He reached out, whispering, "Stop." The screen glitched, then showed him standing instead of sitting. He blinked. He hadn't moved. On the monitor, his copy began to walk toward the camera. Closer, closer, until the face filled the entire screen. "You can't turn it off now," the copy said. The monitor exploded into static, the sound deafening. Ethan screamed, covering his ears. When he opened his eyes again, the hospital was gone. He was back in his office, same chair, same monitor, same timestamp. His computer was on, showing the archives folder. And there it was again. Camera 09, East Wing, live. The video started playing by itself. Ethan's face appeared on the screen. He was sitting at his desk, staring straight ahead, eyes wide and white. The microphone picked up his voice, barely a whisper. "You shouldn't have seen this." Then the feed cut to black. But the red recording light on his office camera kept blinking. Still recording.